Hello everyone, welcome to our audiobook channel. If you enjoy this story or want to hear more exciting content, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. Your feedback helps us improve and bring even more captivating stories. Enjoy listening. Next, we invite you to listen to part 5 and 6 of the series. The comment section of the live stream was flooded with confused questions, as no one seemed to understand who Victor Wang and the woman speaking were in relation to each other. Mind-abode layman was equally shocked by the sudden outburst of fury. "Sister, who are you? You scared me." The woman's voice was unstable, filled with sobs as she cried during the live stream, saying, "Victor Wang is the one who deceived me into marriage. He had an affair with a male colleague at his company, and now he's brazenly lying about me on the live stream, trying to ruin my reputation. I was fired from my job, and he's cruelly trying to kick me out of the house so he can take full custody of our child." The more she cried, the more agitated she became. Her words became disjointed as she tried to explain, "Everything I'm saying is true. I didn't deceive anyone. If I'm lying, then may I die a horrible death." By this point, Ethan Shaw had caught on, and he looked at Ellen with wide eyes. His expression was full of realization. Victor Wang. Is he the same man who asked for legal advice? And is this woman his wife? The viewers in the live stream began to piece things together as well, and Mind-abode layman hesitantly asked, "Sister, are you the wife of the man who claimed to have been deceived into marriage?" "I'm not the one who deceived anyone. From the very beginning, he knew I was bisexual. I'm telling you, he's the one who lied to me." The woman angrily sobbed in defense. But Mind-abode layman wasn't really interested in hearing the full story. He latched onto a key point and, with a gleam in his eyes, interrupted her, asking, "Bisexual? So you're admitting to being deceptive? Did you really cross the line with your best friend?" Standing beside Ellen, Ethan Shaw felt a surge of anger. This guy doesn't care about the truth, he just wants to gain followers. "Hello, user Phi Phi, Ellen cut off Mind-abode layman, speaking directly to the distraught woman. "Don't rush to speak. Calm down first. Let me finish talking to this fake priest, and then you can explain everything properly." She interrupted the woman's crying spell. Hearing the term fake priest, Mind-abode layman flinched as if his weakest spot had been hit. He burst out angrily, "Do you always have to lie about everything?" He reached into his desk drawer to pull out a certificate, about to speak again, but Ellen continued, "Be careful not to grab your marriage certificate by mistake." His heart skipped a beat, and he instinctively looked down to check the document in his hand. "If both of those are in the same drawer, why don't you go ahead and take out your marriage certificate too?" Ellen's tone was casual but dripping with sarcasm. "Isn't it tucked inside the book you placed underneath your priest certificate?" When Mind-abode layman looked up, his face was pale. How does she know this? His marriage certificate was tucked inside a book in that drawer. "That book, it's the I Ching, right?" Ellen continued. Mind-abode layman was at a loss for words, staring at her as though he'd seen a ghost. How does she know so much? Ellen gave a mocking smile. "If you're married, stop pretending to be single just to scam women into spending money on you. That's called fraud. If the amount exceeds the legal limit, you could go to jail." Ethan Shaw stood frozen in shock. Mind-abode layman's face turned a sickly shade of green at the mention of jail, as he stammered a weak rebuttal, "Marriage certificate." "What marriage certificate? You like to boast about your priest certificate and make a living off of mystical arts. I bet even your wife doesn't know about it, right?" Ellen cut him off again. "Don't lie in front of me." Her words hit him like a hammer, leaving Mind-abode layman speechless. Although he was nothing more than a fake priest, he had learned a few tricks about reading faces and practicing mysticism. Naturally, He was aware of the spouse's palace in face reading, which could reveal details about a person's marital status. There were indeed high-level experts who could discern these things just by looking at someone's face. However, having only scratched the surface of these skills, he never imagined someone could truly see through a person's marital status just by looking at their face. Now, Ellen had accurately stated his marital status and even the location of his marriage certificate. This left him completely dumbfounded. Hardly anyone knew he was married, not even his close friends, let alone where he kept his marriage certificate. Even his wife didn't know. Mind-about layman thought back to how Ellen had instantly recognized that the man in the legal consultation session was gay just by looking at him. His stomach dropped, and his mind spun. I'm done for. I've run into a real expert. He wanted to continue denying it, but his live stream chat had already exploded into chaos. The top female supporters who had spent tons of money on him were now showing up, demanding an explanation, asking him to immediately prove that he wasn't married. The user, scalpel-wielding Dragon Slayer, sent another, sparkling effect, gift, come on, speak up. She's lying. If you take out your household registration and prove you're not married, we'll testify against her for defamation. Seeing this comment, Ellen said calmly, I take responsibility for every word I say. Your marital status will be clearly stated on your household registration. You can use that as evidence to sue me right now. Mind-about layman felt like he was sitting on pins and needles. There was no way he could take out his household registration. It clearly stated that he was married. The entire comment section was pressing him. Why are you just standing there? Aren't you going to immediately prove her wrong and sue her? If you claim you're not married, can't you just show us your household registration book already? Holy crap, are you seriously married? You're married? When we started our relationship, you told me you'd never had a girlfriend before. You're in a relationship with her? But he's been dating me. Wow, mind-about layman, you proposed to your other girlfriends last night. Does your wife know about this? Wait, all his girlfriends are here? And they are all the wealthy women who spent hundreds of thousands on him? Ha ha, mind-about layman, is this how you keep your rich supporters on top, by dating them? Scalpel-wielding Dragon Slayer sent another, sparkling effect, making their comment appear in both live streams. Ha ha, what's wrong, buddy? Did someone steal your household registration? Is it really that hard to pull it out? You've probably scammed at least 5 women by pretending you weren't married, right? Each of them has probably spent no less than 50,000 on you. Ellen addressed the viewers in mind-about layman's stream, adding, scamming over 3,000 is enough for criminal charges. Anything above 100,000 is considered a large amount. If any woman here wants to sue him to get her money back, feel free to reach out. Before she could even finish her sentence, mind-about layman's live stream abruptly shut down, disappearing from the screen. She hadn't even finished promoting Ethan Shaw yet. Scalpel-wielding Dragon Slayer quickly checked mind-about layman's stream and returned, ha ha, shut down at the speed of light. I bet he'll post later saying, sorry, I suddenly lost connection. Just watch. Ha ha. Shutting down the stream right now? Isn't that basically admitting he's married? What is he thinking? If he really wasn't married, he could have used this chance to sue Ellen Tran. This is definitely him silently admitting he's been exposed and decided to run away. Did you guys notice? The ones who made him shut down the stream today are all those rich women at the top of his rankings. They are all his current girlfriends. That's wild. Isn't this fraud? I'm so confused. Ellen Tran can really read people's fortunes. The fake Taoist master exposed by a true mystical expert. What kind of plot is this? So that guy from earlier is actually gay? He faked straight, married a woman, and then had the audacity to accuse her of being a lesbian. This is not a scripted show, right? Seriously amazing, you should team up with Ellen Tran to market yourselves. Scalpel-wielding Dragon Slayer suddenly sent a burst of celebratory fireworks across the screen, causing the live stream to freeze for a few seconds. Then they commented, anyone still defending fake Taoist Master Heart, and that STD guy must be scam artists themselves, right? What a united bunch of bad men. STDs, a term used to refer to sexually transmitted diseases. Ethan Shaw widened his eyes in shock, and whispered to Ellen Tran, celebratory fireworks, cost 6,666 yuan. Oh my god, in such a short time, this viewer had already gifted over 10,000 yuan. Even Ellen Tran was surprised and exclaimed, that much already? Taking this much money for no reason doesn't feel right, she asked, scalpel-wielding Dragon Slayer, do you need any legal advice? You can request a connection for a consultation. Scalpel-wielding Dragon Slayer replied, ha ha, Lawyer Tran, I don't need any advice. I just wanted to thank you for giving me such an entertaining day. Of course, if you let me call you wife, that'd be even better. To clarify, I'm straight, just a little weird, but not a lesbian. Ellen Tran felt a bit flustered by this. Do modern women really enjoy calling others wife? However, she had to follow her vows, 2 of them being vegetarianism and not getting married. So, she responded, thank you for the gift, but it'd be better if you didn't call me that. Scalpel-wielding Dragon Slayer laughed, ha ha ha, wife, you're so adorable. Ellen wasn't focused on the comments anymore. By now, the number of people watching the live stream had surpassed 70,000, with viewers continuously pouring in. For the woman trying to clear her name, this was a great opportunity. She reconnected with User Phi Phi, again, User Phi Phi, are you feeling better now? The woman's voice, though still hoarse, sounded more composed, much better, thank you. I'm sorry, I'm borrowing Lawyer Tran's time temporarily. It's fine. Take your time explaining your situation, Ellen Tran said, glancing at the lively comment section. You don't need to explain yourself to the audience in the comments. They are not judges, they can't do anything to you. When she spoke, her tone was so calm that it helped the woman on the other side regain her composure. Yes, why did she need to explain herself to the nosy people in the comment section? What did she need to prove? Even if she explained everything clearly, they couldn't grant her the custody of her child. She really had lost her head earlier. All right, the woman's voice, though raspy, was much clearer now. The issue I'm facing is that my husband hid his sexual orientation when he married me, and after the marriage, he repeatedly cheated with his male lover. Even while I was pregnant, he would use the excuse of business trips to rent a room with his male colleague. Now, after I've given birth, he's asking for a divorce, demanding that I leave the house and give up custody of our child. What should I do to fight for custody? Her statement contained a wealth of information. Ethan Shaw, standing beside Ellen, immediately opened his laptop to note down the details. Ellen Tran, relying on the original host's legal internship experience in her memory, asked, how long have you been married? More than 2 years, and the baby just turned 1 month old and hasn't been weaned yet. User Phi Phi sounded like she was about to cry again. Yesterday was my first day back at work after maternity leave, and he was so eager to run off and mess around with his male colleague. Ellen Tran continued calmly, when did you discover your husband was cheating with his male colleague? The woman replied according to Ellen's question, holding back her emotions, before we got married, he hid the fact that he was gay. After 3 months of marriage, I discovered he was cheating with a male colleague and suspected he was gay. But he refused to admit it, repeatedly insisting that he liked women, and that nothing physical had happened with a male colleague. Later, while undergoing IVF, I saw his WeChat history filled with gay hookup messages, and he even had videos of him and the male colleague in bed. That's when he finally admitted it. IVF? Ellen Tran asked, confused. User Phi Phi choked out her words. We've been married for over 2 years, but we've only been intimate twice. The first time was on our wedding night, but it didn't work out. He claimed he drank too much and couldn't perform. Then, we tried again another time, but it failed too. He and his mother convinced me to undergo IVF. After much difficulty, I got pregnant, and while I was pregnant, I found videos on his phone of him with his male colleague. She couldn't help but sob, my emotions were unstable, and I went into premature labor. He and his mother knelt down, apologized, and promised never to cheat again. They assured me they would live well so that I could keep the baby. I suffered so much during the pregnancy, spending months bedridden, and finally, I gave birth. I really thought he would change. He treated me well while I was pregnant, but I didn't expect that just a month after the baby was born, he would ask for a divorce, demanding that I leave the house and give up custody of our child. Ellen Tran didn't interrupt her, allowing her to continue speaking her heart out. Through her sobs, the woman confided, yesterday, I found out he'd been keeping the relationship with his male colleague the whole time. While I was pregnant, he took care of me during the day but would stay overnight at his colleague's place. On the first day I went back to work, he and the colleague caused such a scene in the car that they ended up in the hospital. Now, he wants me to divorce him and has spread lies on the live stream that I trapped him into marriage. All my friends, colleagues, everyone knows. This morning, I was fired. When I got home from the company, I found that he and his mother had changed the locks. My clothes were left outside, and I wasn't allowed to go in to see my child. She broke down, unable to continue. Meanwhile, the comment section was in an uproar. This is absolutely infuriating. Is what she said true? If it is, I'm going to lose it. So he's the one who tricked her into marriage? Tricked a woman into IVF, and then after she gave birth, he wants to kick the mother out and keep the child? This guy is downright evil. I'm so confused, who's the one who's gay and tricked the other into marriage? This feels more like a mix between legal advice and a game of werewolf asterisk. Werewolf, a social deduction game similar to Mafia. Didn't that woman just admit she's bisexual? So, does that mean she's a lesbian too? If she married for convenience, then I'd say they are both equally guilty. A man married for over 2 years, never shared a bed with his wife, only had one successful attempt at intimacy, and then convinced her to go through IVF. How can there be such a foolish woman in this world? Not foolish, if she's a lesbian, then a marriage of convenience makes sense. They get married, go through IVF, and then after the child is born, they turn against each other, fighting over the child and the house. So, are you a lesbian? Did you bring your girlfriend home and cause trouble? And by the way, did he pay for the house? If so, walking away empty-handed after the divorce is fair, unless you can prove otherwise. Scalpel-wielding dragon slayer, oh no, here we go again. I bet all the people defending the guy with the STD in this live stream are also carrying STDs unless they take their dad to the hospital to prove otherwise. Scalpel-wielding dragon slayer, don't fall into the trap of proving yourself. Right now, the most important thing you should do is go to the hospital and check if he's infected you. You're still recovering, and if you're infected, it could get complicated. Even if it was a marriage of convenience, it's still tragic. Being used as a free surrogate, infected with an STD, suffering through childbirth, and then being kicked out while they keep the child and the house. What were you even thinking from the start? Sis, I don't even know what to say. Right now, Don't listen to anything people are saying online. Go get checked at the hospital. You've just finished your postpartum recovery, and your health is the most important thing. You're still young, and even if you made a wrong decision, it's okay. Keep yourself healthy, and you've got a bright future ahead. Why are you crying? Bang on the door. That child is yours. If they won't let you in, don't just stand there. Go home, bring your parents, and go break down that door. Let's see who's more scared. The comments demanding her to prove herself gradually mixed with comments urging her to check her health and protect herself. Some comments expressed frustration, giving her advice on what to do next. User Phi Phi read these comments and felt the urge to cry. She could sense the kindness from these strangers, and she wondered, if her mother was still alive, would she also be scolding her while giving her the support she needed? If she had the courage before to reject those blind dates, like some of the women in the comments, and face her family head-on, would she still have ended up like this? She really had been both foolish and weak. Besides the things you mentioned, like deception, infidelity, and changing the locks, is there anything else? Tran's tone was so calm it was almost cold. She asked, did he ever physically abuse you? User Phi Phi snapped back to reality. She had been weak and made a wrong decision before, but now she couldn't continue being weak and make mistake after mistake. She had to fight for custody of her child. Without hesitation, she turned on her camera. The screen for User Phi Phi in the live stream suddenly lit up, revealing the face of a woman with tears streaming down, one side of her face swollen, a bruised eye socket, and a red, swollen handprint on her cheek. Tran looked at her face, and paused for a moment. She had known that Lily Phi Phi had been beaten in the hospital, which is why she asked about domestic violence. But she hadn't expected Lily Phi Phi to turn on her camera. Yes, Lily Phi Phi had no way out anymore. The face covered in bruises was still shedding tears. Lily Phi, holding back her emotions, continued, yesterday, he was crushed by a falling tree at the scenic area, and was rushed to the hospital. When I hurried there, I discovered he was admitted alongside that male colleague. It was also yesterday that I found out he had contracted syphilis and HPV long ago. We had an argument in the hospital, and he hit me. Oh my God, I'm seeing red. He even dared to lay hands on her. And syphilis too. Sis, you've been through so much, I can't even bring myself to scold you. Anyone still defending that guy? He got struck by lightning and ended up in the hospital with his male colleague, it's all over the news. Have you done a medical injury assessment? Ellen Tong asked. She shook her head. Ellen Tong calmly instructed, go for an injury assessment. Do you still have evidence of his infidelity, such as messages, videos of him with a male colleague, and the apology he and his mother made after you caught him cheating while you were pregnant? You need to take screenshots and save those as evidence. Yes. This time, Lily Phi responded quickly, I have kept all of that. The messages were screenshotted, and the video was saved. Back when I was pregnant and found out about his infidelity, his mother made him kneel and apologize, and he even signed a written commitment. She added, at that time, to persuade me to have the baby, he and his mother promised in the written commitment that they would transfer the house to me after the baby was born. Then there's no problem at all. Ellen Tong glanced at Xander Hill, now understanding why the man had spread rumors about his wife being a lesbian during the live stream. In a normal divorce, the husband wouldn't stand a chance. Absolutely no problem. Xander Hill confidently chimed in from the side, Miss Lily, don't worry. The law states that during the breastfeeding period, if the mother seeks a divorce, the child will remain with her. Your husband's slander during the live stream is his attempt to manipulate public opinion to paint you as a scandal-ridden, unemployed mother, which would help him in his case for custody. He confidently added, not only will you have the upper hand in securing custody, but you'll also have significant advantages in the division of the marital home and assets. An advantage? Ellen Tong didn't agree. At the very least, the lying husband should lose a layer of skin and experience what it feels like to walk away empty-handed, just as he intended for her. Lily Phi spoke up again, I don't want to fight over the house with him. Most of the money for the house came from his family. I only contributed $300,000 to the renovations. That $300,000 was from my grandmother, who saved her whole life before she passed. I just want that amount back, but after consulting with other lawyers, I've been told I might only get part of it. If I can't get it back, I won't fight for anything else. I just want a quick divorce, and to win custody. Why give up so easily? Ellen Tong asked her, do you have a lot of money right now? Or perhaps several properties that would allow you to support your child without worrying about food and clothing, even if you're unemployed? Do you have parents who can provide a safety net? If you have none of those things, and don't fight, how will you continue to live? Her tone wasn't mocking or angry, but calm and direct. Lily Phi stared at Ellen Tong, her eyes gradually reddening. I'm sorry, Attorney Tong. I know you're thinking about what's best for me. Maybe I'm the kind of woman everyone hates. It's not that I don't want to fight, but I'm scared. My husband terrifies me. He acts perfect at home and outside, and everyone, friends, colleagues, thinks he's a rare good man. But he can happily throw a birthday party for our baby, then suddenly bring up divorce, pulling out a notebook listing every penny he's ever spent on me over the years, even gifts from when he first courted me. Do you understand? He even kept the receipt for a bottle of wine he gave my father 2 years ago when he was courting me. Money and the house matter more to him than life itself. If I fight him for the house, he will never let me go. Lily Phi nervously clenched her fingers, continuing, he also has a recording from before our wedding, where I told him I once had a girlfriend, that I am bisexual. Ellen Tong wasn't surprised. The fact that she could admit this was a good sign. She asked, did he secretly record that conversation? When did it happen? Yes, it was during our first blind date. Lily Phi, avoiding the comments criticizing her, anxiously explained, my mother passed away when I was young, and my father remarried, and had more children. I lived with my grandmother, and after she passed a few years ago, I moved back to live with my father. Less than a year later, he and my stepmother pressured me to go on blind dates, and that's how I met my husband. At the time, I was under pressure to get married, so on the first date, I told him I had once had a girlfriend, and that I was bisexual. But he said he didn't care, and pursued me for months, showering my family with gifts. I never imagined he would secretly record our conversation from the very first meeting. That's why she was scared, she felt trapped, as if she had been his prey from the very beginning. He spent nearly $20,000 on gifts for my family, and the $88,000 dowry was taken by my father to build a house for my half-brother. Her voice cracked as she mentioned her family. When we discussed divorce, he demanded I return the dowry. My own family doesn't support the divorce, no one is standing by me. My father said my husband's attraction to men is my fault. He said it's because I had a girlfriend in the past, so no man would want me. That's why my husband didn't want to touch me, couldn't be intimate with me. She had no family support, no one to stand with her to break down doors. She had no courage left to fight her husband. Even the IVF was something my father and stepmother encouraged me to do. She laughed bitterly, her eyes filled with tears. Attorney Tong, even my own family is ashamed of me. They are afraid of having to return the dowry, so they don't support my divorce. How can I fight? You fight with the law. Xander exclaimed in frustration, you didn't lie when you got married, and you didn't cheat. you are not the one at fault. Sexual orientation isn't a crime, and there's no right or wrong in it. Lying to get married is the real wrongdoing. Even if your family doesn't support you, the law will protect your rightful interests. Justice will not be absent. Oh my God. Ellen Tong looked at Xander Hill in astonishment. It had been 800 years since she'd met someone so innocent and righteous. Even her kind-hearted master no longer believed that justice would be served. Xander Hill, still fuming, sought her agreement. Right, Attorney Ellen. That's right. Ellen didn't want to shatter his idealism, so she turned to Lily Phi and said, precisely because you have no family, no support, you must fight. Otherwise, what do you plan to do, take your child to a hotel or sleep on the street? In the comments section, a special effect appeared from the account Dragon-Slaying Scalpel. That's right. You have to fight, and fight hard. Don't forget child support. If you can't afford a lawyer, start a live stream, and I'll send you gifts. Please hang in there. Your family may not support you, but we do, sis. We are your real family, sis. Don't take the wrong path anymore. Send me your husband's address in a private message, and I'll come break down the door for you. Just don't let us down. Make him pay. If you can't afford a lawyer, start a fundraising live stream, and I'll contribute. Just hire Attorney Ellen. Xander is right, your sexual orientation is not a crime. It's deceiving someone into marriage that's wrong. You have to stand strong. He recorded you on your first date. Do you think this man already knew you were bisexual, and deliberately set you up to marry and have a baby for him, using that recording to blackmail you, keeping the child and tossing you aside? If that's true, this is terrifying. Where are you now, sis? Please be careful and stay safe. Lily Phi had never expected the online comments to be so supportive. She thought people would curse her for being foolish. Tears filled her eyes again, uncontrollably. She was about to thank everyone and reassure them when suddenly the door behind her was kicked open. A loud bang startled her and everyone in the live stream room. A burly young man stormed in, followed by a woman who appeared to be around 50 or 60 years old. The man lunged towards Lily Phi Phi, trying to grab the phone that was still connected to the live stream. Lily Phi Phi panicked, clutching the phone tightly, and cried out, "Leo, what are you doing?" In a split second, she was shoved down by the man, causing a loud crash as she seemed to hit something. Lily Phi Phi's phone was snatched away, and the man's face briefly appeared on the screen for just a second before the call was abruptly cut off. All that was left was Lily Phi Phi's desperate cry, "Attorney Ellen, help me," before the connection was severed. What just happened? Xander Hill stood up anxiously, pressing closer to the phone screen. Did something happen to her? Who was that man? Damn, was that her husband coming to take her away? Is she going to be okay? Looks like her phone was snatched. Can we call the police for her? Oh my God, she was calling for help. That wasn't her husband, Ellen Tong calmly stated, having clearly recognized the man's face. That was her half-brother. And the older woman was her stepmother. Why would her own family treat her like that? Xander Hill, concerned for Lily Phi Phi's safety, fretted. We can't even call the police, can we? If it was her family, and no serious harm was done, the police wouldn't intervene. Do you think something bad will happen to her? It's very possible her family might confine her or force her to return to her husband. Ellen Tong grabbed a stack of papers printed with the logo of Hill Law Office from the desk, pulled out one sheet, and placed it just outside the camera's view. She then began tracing something on the paper with her finger. Suddenly, with a small whoosh, the paper caught fire. Xander Hill's eyes widened in shock as the sheet spontaneously combusted before Ellen casually tossed it into a cup of tea to extinguish the flames. Once the fire was out, she calmly said to him, "She'll call you soon. You should go to her house and find her." Xander, wide-eyed, stared at her in disbelief, but her phone was just taken. At that moment, Ellen Tong wavered, reaching out to steady herself on Xander's arm before sinking down onto the sofa. "What's wrong?" Xander, noticing her pale face and how her lips had lost their color, asked with concern. "Are you feeling unwell? You seemed fine just now." Ellen, her lips twitching slightly, whispered, "I'm hungry. Do you have anything to eat?" "Huh?" Xander was dumbfounded. Hadn't they just eaten? How could she suddenly be hungry again? "Maybe your blood sugar's low." He quickly rummaged through a drawer, pulling out some chocolate. Meanwhile, Aunt Ha rushed in with boiled eggs, hastily peeling one for Ellen. Ellen didn't care what it was, she immediately devoured it. She quickly realized that every time she used her magic in this body, she would get low blood sugar, feeling an intense hunger, as if her spiritual energy was converting directly into starvation. The live stream was still running, and Xander didn't even have time to fetch water for Ellen when they heard a car pull up outside the law office. Someone pushed open the office door, and a man dressed in a black shirt entered. He wasn't too tall or short, slim but fit, and looked to be around 30 years old, with a handsome face. "Hello?" Xander assumed it was a client. But the man's gaze was fixed solely on Ellen Tong, who was sitting on the sofa. He spoke with a gentle smile, "I'm Ellen's manager, and I've come to find her." Without hesitation, he walked straight towards Ellen. Ellen, still lounging on the sofa, opened her eyes and looked up at the man standing before her. He leaned in, his tone soft, "Ellen, I've been looking everywhere for you. You're not coming home, and you're not answering your phone." Xander, now annoyed, thought, why does he have to get so close to her? How irritating. He also noticed a strange tattoo resembling a talisman on the back of the man's hand, extending up his forearm where his sleeves were rolled. But the comments in the live stream were quite the opposite of Xander's thoughts. "Who's this handsome guy? That tattoo on his hand is so hot. Dan Jiang, Ellen Tong's manager. He's the rumored boyfriend of Ellen Tong. There was a photo shoot that totally made me ship them. The one where Ellen Tong was getting her makeup done and Dan Jiang was holding her face to put on her earring, right? Exactly that one." His rough, tattooed hand holding her delicate face, it made her look like a little bird trapped in a cage. "I heard he's the one who signed Ellen Tong and helped her pay off her debts, but Ellen Tong's attitude is too bad to deserve someone like Dan Jiang. Dragon Slayer, disgusting, how can anyone ship this? I heard the rumor about Ellen Tong being an illegitimate child was something her company spread themselves, and then they used her account to apologize. It was all staged, the company controls her. Dan Jiang is no good. Wasn't the illegitimate child thing already confirmed? How do you know it was her company using her account? Didn't she post that herself?" Dragon Slayer, because my dad is friends with Kevin Wong, the boss of Radiant Media. They are all part of the same scheme. Ellen Tong isn't an illegitimate child at all. Stop lying, don't try to whitewash Ellen Tong. The live stream chat was buzzing with heated arguments. However, Ellen Tong only glanced at Dan Jiang's face for a few seconds. In Ellen Tong's memories, there had once been affection for this Dan Jiang. When she was at her lowest, she met Dan Jiang, a successful manager who had helped many stars rise to fame. He lent her a large sum of money to pay off her debts, and stayed by her side during her mother's passing, but those feelings didn't last long. Ellen Tong eventually saw through Dan Jiang. After she signed a contract with him, he exploited her to create scandals, arranged for her to attend parties with investors, and even handed her room key to an investor when she was drunk at one of these events. Ellen Tong fought back and tried to report it to the police, but Dan Jiang stopped her. She saw his cowardice and selfishness, and the way he treated her as just another business deal. She worked tirelessly to repay her debt to him and the company, aiming to cancel her contract. But he told her, "Little Ellen, I've put too much into you. I can't just let you go." On the night Ellen Tong attempted suicide, Dan Jiang didn't even look for her. But now that she was famous across the internet, he was back. "Come back to the company with me," Dan Jiang said, showing no concern for what she had gone through, only caring about her new fame. She needed to return and deal with him and the company once and for all. Canceling the contract wasn't enough, she had to expose the truth and ensure they faced the consequences. Ellen Tong looked at Alex Hill and said, "I'll go back there for a bit." Alex, concerned, wanted to offer to go with her, but before he could speak, she stood up and said, "Hold on to your justice, okay?" Without another word, she followed Dan Jiang out of the law office. Alex watched as Dan Jiang opened the car door for her. He wanted to ask if she would come back. Suddenly, another phone on the desk rang. Was it Lily Phi? He quickly answered, hearing Lily Phi's faint, anxious voice on the other end. She said, "Attorney Ellen, help me. I'm locked in the house. My phone is about to die."